This movie has been requested so many times in the past, and I just never wanted to do it because, honestly, just looking at the movie is enough to make me bored. If I just see a screen cap from the movie, like a still image, that's enough to tell me, Mark, you better stay the hell away from this thing if you value your well-being at all, because you may want to hurt yourself. I just knew it was going to be a difficult movie to watch, even just from a visual standpoint alone. And I was right. It was almost impossible. I mean, just look at this thing. The animation and the textures are so bland, it looks like a crappy movie from 20 years ago. Seriously, it looks like it looks like one of those 3D demos that came with Windows 95. If any of you remember Windows 95 when it first came out. Actually, I bet some of you probably weren't even born yet. Wow, what the am I doing with my life? Now, for those of you who don't know, Foodfight is a movie that actually went into production right at the beginning of the new millennium. And apparently, in 2003, all the hard drives containing all the work they had done on the movie were stolen. Now, I'm actually really curious about that situation. I'm more interested in how that stuff was stolen than the movie, because that's not interesting at all. I just have questions like, how? Why? Who? Of course, this led the filmmakers to have to start from scratch, using whatever money there was left, and kind of explains why the movie is as terrible as it is. Partly. I mean, I say partly because, yeah, okay, we all know you had to, remodel everything and maybe reanimate, but the writing and the dialogue, well, that's been there since the beginning, obviously. So, they stole the script. We have to rewrite the script with a horrible writer this time. Not buying that one. Still don't know how that happened. And the producer went on record of saying that it was an act of industrial espionage. I don't even know what that means. I've got the files, Money Penny. All the shitty animations here. I'm on my way back to MI6 now. That was terrible. I don't even know why I attempted that. I can't do Sean Connery. I can't do anybody. What am I saying? I should do that. I should do a video of my impressions. It would be funny just because the impressions would be so horrible. Way off. And why would he be telling this to Moneypenny? Like he would be telling M or a Q. Anyways, what they ended up with was auctioned off for a couple of $1 million. I think it was like $2.5 million. And then it was distributed. And they even made merchandise, I think. Actually, if you go on eBay, you can find some merchandise. People just take the worst pictures sometimes on eBay. Like, this is supposed to be the weasel from the movie. That's just his face. And that leads us to where we are now. An unfinished movie about food mascots, which takes place in a grocery store and features the voices of a lot of actors, actually. Just to name a few, there's Charlie Sheen, Hilary Duff, Wayne Brady, Eva Longoria, Christopher Lloyd. There's a bunch of others too. I'm not even gonna go through it though. Now, I guess this was supposed to be a kids movie, but a lot of the jokes in here are obviously not for kids.
You better go easy on the potato juice before you get chip-faced.
There's no 7-year-old sitting there watching this going, oh, chip-faced instead of shit-faced. I get it. Now, when you look at the poster for this movie, you'd probably think, all right, doesn't look too horrible. I mean, probably not a great movie since it has a lot of product placement, obviously, just based on the mascots on the cover. But this cover is extremely misleading since, well, the character models are fully rendered. Now, this cover gives you a much better idea of what you're truly in for when you're gonna throw that DVD into the tray. When the movie starts, you can instantly see what I mean. This just looks beyond awful. Like I said, this never got finished, so pretty much all of this isn't fully rendered, which leads to the bland textures and hilarious things like this light post going right through this car. Now you should get used to this sort of thing because it is all over this movie. So anyways, the owner of the grocery store closes up for the night, and this is when all the craziness begins. And I really don't understand this. I mean, everything changes. This doesn't make sense. Why are there streets in this place now with cars and grass and fields and all this type of shit? This is all supposed to be in the grocery store. One of the reasons Toy Story worked so well is because the characters had to interact with the environment the way it was. There's no highway going through Andy's bedroom at any point, and it's just difficult to watch. Like I said, is this a different world we're in now? Is this an imaginary place? Is this all in their heads? Do they come alive at, see, this doesn't, what? This is its own world with miniature people and animals and Mr. Clean, I guess, and farting frogs, I don't know. So Charlie Sheen plays Dex, a dog detective, and Hilary Duff plays, I don't even know what this is. Cat person? I mean, what is this? The Island of Dr. Moreau? Apparently her character is named Sunshine Goodness, and she's the mascot for a company that sells raisins. And where was the marketing department for that company? Out to lunch that day, or just insanely drunk? Alright people, we gotta sell these raisins, so let's come up with some kind of a mascot, you know, like a happy little character that will be synonymous with raisins. I mean, Frosted Flakes is Tony the Tiger. I don't know about you guys, but every time I see a toucan, I think of Fruit Loops. So what are we gonna come up with? What kind of character will people look at and say, yes, I want some raisins? Well, if the internet has taught us anything, it's that people seem to like cats and pretty girls. So why don't we just combine the two into some kind of a human feline hybrid thing, and boom! I mean, look at that. How could you not want to buy those raisins? I'm hungry just looking at her. Dex is gonna propose to Hilary Duff's cat thing, so he asks Wayne Brady's squirrel to be his best man. And I never realized how perverse that sentence sounded until just now after I read it. Now, at first, I had no idea why these tears were brown, but I guess it's because he's made out of chocolate. You know, I was beginning to think that I was never going to get to see a movie where Wayne Brady voiced a chocolate squirrel. Hollywood, you've done it again. So they're talking about the whole proposal thing, and suddenly she just appears right next to them, kicking around a watermelon that, thanks to the animation, can go right through this kid's head. Gee, I don't know about you guys, but suddenly I have a craving for some milk, specifically from Farmland Dairies. Don't know why though. Dex wants to propose to Cat Girl, but stuff keeps getting in the way.
Chill, dog. You can pop the question tomorrow night. Don't worry. It ain't like it's the last time you're ever gonna see Sunshine again.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's not foreshadowing anything. I'm serious when I say this movie is just extremely difficult to get through. It's just so unpolished that every instinct is just screaming at you to turn it off in just the first couple of minutes. So it's 6 months later now, and I guess Catgirl has been missing the whole time, and McGruff keeps having nightmares about trying to find Catgirl that start off with flying donuts, I guess. Dex is no longer a detective and is running a nightclub instead, so now this club is obviously very popular and for some reason is filled completely with terrible dancers. I've honestly never been to a club before where I've heard music from CCR or seen dancing like this. Oh, hey, what's going on? You like these moves? How about a drink? Now there's this new chick in town and she represents Brand X products, which apparently the store owner can't prevent from replacing all of his name brand products. After a while of trying to seduce Dex in a bunch of scenes, Lady X just knocks him out and I guess throws him along with Dan into a clothes dryer, which is unlike any dryer I've seen. I mean, where's the hologram coming from? And what kind of a dryer uses flames to dry clothes? Now, I'm no Maytag repairman, but seems to me that if you've got fire, you know, coming out of your dryer, then you might want to look at a replacement. So Brand X is creating an army of exobites And if you don't know what those are, well, join the club because neither do I. So they somehow end up on a shelf in the store. So I guess we're back to reality now. No longer in Magic Food City. I mean, they weren't really clear on how the grocery store worlds cross over, but whatever. Now Dan is trapped on the shopping cart being pushed by, I guess this is supposed to be a woman and her son. Wow. Somebody actually drew that and got paid for it. So suddenly Dex flies in on a 2-liter bottle of something. How? I mean, I get that the thing took off once the cap was broken and there was a lot of pressure, but here it's just hovering somehow. Somehow they go through this door and into some place. I guess this is the office or something because there's a computer. A really flamboyant computer by the looks of it. And I guess they could just talk to the computer like as if it was one of them for some reason. And also there's this bat in this scene who I think keeps trying to hit on Dan. So Dex is using the computer to try and get rid of the Brand X orders when he finds out that the Hilary Duff Catgirl raisins were recalled. And look at this. In the picture on the computer, she just looks like a regular girl. So why did they cross her with a cat earlier in the movie? Anyways, Dex starts up a resistance with a bunch of the others, and this is really the part of the movie that you've been waiting for since the beginning, the actual food fight. But again, like everything else in this movie, it probably would have looked a lot better if the animation process was finished. That way I bet the food wouldn't have just disappeared into the ground here. And for some reason all the food is exploding, even cakes and strawberries somehow. And check out the animation on this. I mean, you can't help but feel kind of bad for the movie. $45 million to start, and this is how things ended up. Now, for some reason, a bunch of them are using tinfoil and making sculptures of random things with it. Of course, the bat makes a sculpture of Dan because he wants to bang him. It turns out that these are lightning rods, and Dex's big plan is to cut down an electrical pole, so somehow it will create a lightning storm and destroy all the Brand X buildings. This is the big plan. And I gotta mention this now. I mean, some of the lines in this movie are just so unbelievably bad. Like, just listen to this.
I'm gonna pop your corn, lady.
What is that even supposed to mean? Imagine if someone said that to you. I wouldn't know if it was a threat or if they were coming on to me. Okay, now are you ready to see the most impressive piece of animation in this whole movie? Because here it is. This sheet. I'm serious. And it's so funny that throughout the movie, different lines of dialogue vary in audio quality from the same character.
I'm fine, nobody saw that.
All the lightning rods are in place, I guarantee it.
Somehow Dex just walks right into the Brand X headquarters where they're making all the poison gas or whatever. Don't know why it was so easy for him to just walk in, but okay. And then he just throws a hook around this pipe, pulls on it, and this destroys it. Really? Dex finds out that Brand X had Hilary Catface kidnapped this whole time.
I'm not the one who's gonna be puppy whipped. You cold farted itch.
What? Now this doesn't make any sense at all. Dex pulls the rug out from under the bad guy's feet, but that wouldn't work because she's sitting on a chair on top of the rug. And now comes the best part. The injection gun goes flying into the air. She throws Dex a raisin, which he spits out at the gun, pushing it into the bad guy. And you know what? I'm just gonna finish this review right there. The rest of the movie is pretty much what you'd expect. The bad guys lose and get beaten up, and then everything works out for the good guys, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is one of those movies that was painful just to get through. Just writing this review, it felt like work, which is probably why it took so long. However, it should be said that I feel that this movie is kind of a victim of circumstance. Don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot here beyond the animation that is completely terrible, but I really think the most glaringly obvious thing here is the unfinished animation. If the animation was completely finished and it had a decent sound mix to go with it, I still don't think it would be a good movie, but I just feel that it probably wouldn't stick out so much. I also think that the product placement was pretty lame, but I mean, there's a ton of that in movies these days. You just don't notice it as much. probably because the products aren't actual characters in those movies like they are here. Now, apparently the producer has come out and said it's technically not product placement, it's cross-promotion, but I mean, come on, whatever, who cares? It still is obvious and blatant and kind of distracting. And now we answer the question of how bad is Foodfight? Well, I'm giving this movie a 9 on the bad movie meter for terrible dialogue, characters, and most of all, its crimes against animation. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get started on writing my next review. Right after, I have a nice cold Bud Light Platinum. For a strong beer, it's surprisingly smooth, mixed with Bud Light's crisp, refreshing taste. Okay, do I get paid now? No, I don't want to play Fallout Shelter. I do, but, well, I'm actually done. I hate it. It's so stupid. Well, why does the game do that? They're like, oh, you're only allowed to have 200 vault dwellers. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm done. They won't let me build any more rooms or anything. I thought the whole objective was to build as many as you possibly can before everybody dies. And yet the game just tells me, well, can't build anymore, Mark, sorry. Guess the game's done. Now I got all these vault dwellers, just like everybody's on a coffee break. You know, you can't put everybody in all of the rooms. You're going to have some overflow. So now I just have all these people wandering around. Some are working, some aren't. And some are out in the wasteland doing God knows what. And there's really no point to playing the game anymore. Don't even give me an end to the game. Like if there was some kind of, ending achievement where they're like, yay, you made it to 200 vault dwellers and you've built all that you can. And, something with, I don't know, like just confetti or some shit on the screen. I don't care. Just give me an end to the game. We're still months away from November 10th, so gonna need something to tide me over. Batman won't do it. Well, I'll probably do it for about 2 weeks. That's it.